Any great leader will tell you that leadership isn't something that's just learned through experience. It's also learned by observing people who've done it and done it well. Staying curious and committed to being a lifelong learner is what helps you grow as a leader. And today, we're going to learn from one of the greats.
I help people achieve their goals faster than they would in my absence. If you don't want to grow, my type of an organization is not a good one to be in. I can veto, but I can't dictate. People play better when you keep score.
The thing I love about Gino Blefari is that he's made a huge commitment to personal growth and development, and he creates the environment for other people to grow too. My name is Dermot Buffini, and I'm the Curious CEO. Welcome to the Curious CEO, where leaders come to learn from other leaders. And we have a great guest and leader joining us today. Gino Blefari has had an astonishing career in the real estate world. He started out as a realtor, he progressed into management, and then created his own powerhouse company, Intero Real Estate, which was eventually purchased by Warren Buffett. Today, Gino serves as the CEO of Home Services of America and the chairman of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Gino is also a voracious learner and a student and teacher of personal and professional growth, and someone who knows a thing or two about leadership. Gino, welcome to the show.
Dermot, great to be here. And I got to compliment your team right off the bat. You know, Dermot, I get on a lot of these different type calls, and nobody has been as organized or as professional as your team. So kudos to you on that.
Well, thanks, Gino. There would be no Buffini without & Company, I can tell you that much. Gino, for those, I know a lot of people here know you in the industry, but for those who don't know you, maybe you could just share with us a little bit about the size and the scope of the organization that you lead on a daily basis.
Sure, I'd be happy to do that, Dermot. So it's Home Services of America is the parent company, the holding company for 5 different businesses. The franchise business, which we have Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, the real estate brokerage business, of which we have another 53 brands like Edina, Long and Foster, Reese Nichols, Ebby Holiday. Okay, we're a top 10 lender with Prosperity Home Mortgage. We're in the title insurance business. We actually are part of it. We actually have our own underwriting, and then we are in the homeowners insurance and property business. So it's mortgage, title, insurance, brokerage, and franchise. It's the whole gamut.
Yeah, I'm just tired just honestly listening to you, Gino. I don't know how the heck you do it. You know, everybody on here is leading either themselves, they're leading a team, you know, they're dealing with, you know, just the daily challenges of running a business, the whirlwind of life, you know. You've obviously got a lot on your plate. How do you keep the main things? How do you focus on your main priorities? I know you have a system to do this. So why don't you share about how do you run your day?
Sure. And before I do that, Dermot, let me just tell you this with everybody. There's always another level that we can aspire to. Dermot mentioned earlier how, Dermot, I started out as a realtor, right? And I thought, man, this is a challenging business being a realtor, which it was. Then I became a branch manager, and it was, oh my gosh, it was pretty easy being a realtor. Then I became a regional person. Then I became the CEO of a company. And, you know, every space along, when you look back, there's always another level for us to aspire to, right? And that's what we want to be doing, aspiring to that next level, because otherwise complacency sets in, right? The most insidious disease in the world, and sits up on your shoulder and says, right where you're at is fine. So you always want to be improving. But to get to your question, Dermot, what you just said about that, yeah, having a system, and you know, I've always followed a system, and I actually originally learned this back in the 80s from Bill Walsh with the West Coast offense of the 49ers and the system, which 45 years later, everybody is running Bill Walsh's system right now in the NFL with the rhythm passing game. But the system that I like to run, and that I run in all my business, is based on 4 disciplines. It really can be defined in that book, The 4 Disciplines of Execution. But it's basically focus, leverage, engagement, and accountability. Those 4 things. And the first discipline.
Sorry, Gino, can you say that again? Focus.
Sure.
Focus,
leverage, engagement, and accountability. Those are the 4 disciplines that I've always run my businesses, going clear back to Contempo before before my stand at Realogy or anywhere, and before starting in tarot, and well before that. So I've always had kind of like a system. There was a book called The Game of Business that basically was just like the 4 disciplines of execution. It came out in the 80s, and I basically started doing this system way back in the 80s, and then later on, 20 years later or so, somebody wrote a book on what it is, and they really defined it very, very well. So the first discipline is how I do stay focused, and it's focusing on 1, 2, or 3 of the most important things that you have to get done that get you to your goal, whatever that goal might be, making your plan or making X number of dollars or things like that. And the way you figure out what that that wildly important goal is, you say to yourself, Dermot, if everything stayed the same, what's the 1, 2, or 3 things at the most that would have the biggest impact on me getting there? Okay, so that's how you stay focused on that. So that's just the first piece.
So let me ask you this. It's a bit like if you're going to lose weight, you got to figure out what are the most important things to do, right? What I'm eating, what I'm working out, how I'm moving. It's one thing once you get yourself organized and you get clear on that. How do you get the team aligned?
Yeah, well, you got to get the team aligned through having them pick their own wildly important goals. That's how I do it. They pick their own wildly important goals for the team, which rolls up to the corporate wildly important goals. Okay, so that's the first discipline. The next one is for them to create their lead measures. Okay, what are the most important things they can do that can influence and predict that they'll get to that goal. Mm-hmm. So they have to define that too. Now, how do I get them engaged, Dermot? I get them engaged with a scorecard. I keep score on everything. Mm-hmm. People play better when you keep score. Okay, we've all heard this this old line: when performance is measured, performance improves. When performance is measured and reported back, the rate of improvement accelerates, right? So that drives engagement, keeping score. And then the 4th discipline, where the accountability comes in, that's creating that cadence of accountability. And I'm on a call every single Monday with every franchise salesperson in the brand, every leadership position within the brand, and then every leadership position within Home Services of America. And then I have 5 separate calls with about 10 CEOs on each call. And so I touch bases with them every single week. And that's how that's my system. That's how I do it. Accountability is even better every day. Like if I'm running a team, if I'm one of our great customers that are in Buffini coaching right here, and I'm running a team, okay, I'm going to want daily accountability, but at the least weekly. If it's longer than a week, the whirlwind sets in, okay? And it's not something sending your little paper in saying what you do. It's them being accountable to it. Mm-hmm. So hopefully that we can dig deeper too.
Sure. Well, let me just kind of back up a little bit to hear what I heard you say, which is number 1 is start with what the heck is the goal? Start with the goal, then identify the 1 or 2 or 3 things that you need to focus on.
No, it's start with the goal. Okay, mm-hmm. Start with the goal, 1, 2, maximum 3. Mm. Then the lead measures become what are the actions you have to take, and you got to remember that they're predictive and they can be influenced by the team. Mm. So if you actually do this, if I do my Popeyes, I can get my listings, right? If I send my something of value, I can generate some listings. So what are they're predictive. In other words, if you do it, you can predict it'll get you to the goal, and you can also influence as the team member. Mm-hmm. The more you do it, your handwritten notes, whatever that is that you do.
What does that look like in your world? What's a specific in your world that would be an example of what you're saying, which is that's a priority?
Well, for in my world, for Home Services America and Berkshire Hathaway, our number 1 WIG is our recruiting and retention. Okay, that's so we count that as 1. recruiting and retention. That's the number one way. Now, what we do is we measure the rolling on a rolling 12, the company dollar generated by whoever we hired. Okay. For example, I hire someone, okay, and let's say they get their average commission, Dermot, is $10,000 for not in Silicon Valley where it would be like 80, right? But $10,000 commission. And if they're paid at an 80-20 split, let's just say, then I'd have a $2,000 of company dollar. That's what I'm measuring on a rolling 12. Okay. Now, after they've been on that in there for 12 months, they fall off. Okay. So you constantly have to be growing and growing. Now, if someone leaves, I take their past 12 months that they had, what their company dollar is, and then that's what I'm measuring. Am I positive or am I negative? And then you go from there. So that would be a sample of them. That's our main goal is recruiting and retention. Our second goal is driving our core services. We're in much more than just the real estate business. And as margins shrink in all of our companies, if you're operating in a company right now, if you're a realtor, it doesn't have a huge impact on you because, it used to be 80 was a tremendous split to pay your agent, right? One time it was 50-50, and then 85 and 90 and as that percent goes down, okay, as that percent goes down, you have to figure out other ways to be able to drive revenue so you can have a viable company. And some of that would be with mortgage, it would be with title, it would be insurance, okay? Those are things, those are like, I call them core service deliverables, not ancillary services, but this is part of our core. This is what we do. And that's the other number two wildly important goal. And then number three for home services, because you're asking specifics there, Dermot, that would be expense control. Okay. Expense control, because you have to control your expenses. You can't do exactly the same thing you used to do when everybody was paid at a 50-50 split.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
So what I'm hearing you there, so then from that standpoint, it allows you to give that same template to the leaders who report to you.
Yeah, they have that template. They have that template, Dermot. They have that template where they're going to say, my wildly important goal for the week is this and this and this. My lead measures to do this is this and this and this. And then they take it one step further and they say, the one thing I'm doing as the CEO is to generate recruiting is I've got this meeting or I've got that. The one thing I'm doing to increase my mortgage capture is this or that. The one thing I'm doing to increase my title capture is this. So they specifically actually declare that to the team, and it becomes an idea exchange because the other CEOs are listening on the call and they're hearing that somebody's going to be doing this and somebody's going to be doing that. So it becomes it becomes a like a think tank, almost like an idea exchange.
Well, what I'm hearing you say there is that, okay, so the framework is the same for everybody. Here's the alignment of, here's the goals, here's the activities, here's the objectives that we're setting forth. But there's freedom inside of that for them to explore how they do it.
They always not even explore how they do it, but for them to decide what they're choosing. I can veto, but I can't dictate, and I rarely veto because they know what to do. Okay.
So you're leveraging all of these folks and all of this talent to achieve your organization's goals, but you're also creating this, as you say, a think tank where people are reporting back in going, I did this and it worked. Hey, I did this, it didn't work. And so you're leveraging all of these ideas and this talent to make the whole better.
Yeah. On a weekly basis.
So how long do you give people, like, because obviously not every idea works. Okay. Not every decision you make is, and I think a lot of times that leaders, we can give up too quickly, but also our teams can give up too quickly. How long do you give, like, as regards, what's the period of time that you're running, your lead measures on that to try them out to see if they're effective?
They're gonna decide that themselves. Okay. If they're not getting some results, we're gonna say, hey, what we're doing here is not working. so we need to come up with a different plan on how to make it work. But there's no set specific time. These are CEOs of big companies, right? That know what to do and know how to do it. I'm just keeping them focused on what they need to do.
So let me ask you this. What do you do when you have a rogue member, maybe somebody who's running off to the races, playing their own game, doing something, maybe getting distracted, maybe it's not even intentional, it's just maybe misplaced energy. How do you coach them up? How do you deal with that?
The scorecard typically coaches them up, because the real estate business is not for the weak-willed or the faint of heart. It's for those of us who get sick to our stomach if we're not in the top 10% of any competitive activity. And the scorecard does that very, very well. It's one way, because no one wants to see themselves at the bottom of the list. Okay. And if they're not doing it, they're at the bottom of the list, right? One great thing about having a culture of accountability is that it rewards the people that are doing their job, and they love it. It really hurts the people that aren't doing their job, okay, because it exposes them. And they might try to say, oh, I don't like micromanaging, but it's not at all micromanaging. It's just accountability.
Yeah. Okay? It's like myself and my brother talking about golf, When he tells me about his round of golf, he's telling me, I hit one off the tee, I hit it really well, but I just kind of pushed and it just went out of bounds, but then I dropped another one. And I'm like, hey, bro, it's a scorecard, okay? It's not a story card. And we're able to kind of come back and go, what is the issue? Oh, you keep driving the ball 90 miles that way, right out of bounds. Maybe you don't hit the driver. So it's the same process. You can look at the scorecard they're getting, have a meaningful conversation to say, that's not getting the result. And you also have, you have a comparison because you've got other leaders who are getting a result.
Yeah. The thing is it's like my wildly important goal was this. You either did it or you didn't. So they say it was completed or not completed. If they're getting too many things they get anything really that's not completed on their wildly important goal, there needs to be a reason for that, or they need to be able to set that goal better so they don't miss it, because they're kind of committing to that. It's more of a commitment than anything else.
Well, what I like about what you're saying too is that a lot of times I think leaders can get frustrated because people aren't achieving what they want them to achieve. And the mistake a lot of times the leader makes is not being clear on what the actual goal is. And what I like about this is it allows you and allows all of us here to come to the table and say, here is what we're trying to achieve. Here are the goals. There's no mystery in it.
Yeah, it's from X to Y by when, okay? And when you set it for the year, it's from January 1st to December 31st, X to Y. I want to go from this to that by the end of the year. It's always X to Y by when. It's not, I want to drink more water or I want to hire more agents. No, I want to go from this number of agents to that number of agents. And how am I going to do that? Or I'm going to go from this number of sales to that number of sales. People kind of forget those types of things. And my WIG call is very, very specific, and there's nothing else talked about during that time. And I can get through 10 CEOs in about 20 minutes or less. Okay. And it definitely less than 30 minutes. And then when that call's done, I said, this completes our leadership WIG call for the 25th of January. Now let me go over some announcements, and we'll go over some announcements. Okay.
Love it.
And so it should take them about 2 minutes I've been in touch with my accountability partner 5 out of the last 5 days. Now, see, everyone has an accountability partner on my team that they're in touch with every day. And when I first put that together, they were like, what is this accountability? I don't want to have an accountability. Now they think that's the best thing, because right there was 2 reasons. One, Dermot, for the discipline of talking to your accountability partner every day. But number 2, for building the culture of your team. So on that first call with their accountability partner, they ask 18 connecting questions. So what do you do? How did you get started? Where are you originally from? What's your current family situation? What family situation growing up? Were you active in school? Give me a remember, send this out. What else do you do besides work? Who from your childhood had the biggest impact on you? What did that person teach you? Look at your life as a radar scope. There'll be highs. Give me one of the highs. What does that tell you about yourself? Give me one of the lows. What got you through? what's the future hold for you? If a young person asks you for advice on how to live your life, how would you tell them? When it's all over, how do you want to remember it? 18 connecting questions, and then you got that bond right there, and the rest of the thing is easy. And if you study any championship team, any 10X companies, the closer they are connected, the better they perform.
So I hear what you're saying. You get them to know each other. You get them to connect to each other as humans, get to know each other, rather than, especially with maybe a little ego in the room with that many talented people who are like showing up to beat their chests and say, here I am. How long does it take? How long did it take you to? Because change is hard, right? And cultures and creating a winning culture is not easy, and it's not for the faint of heart. How long did it take you to kind of get people on board? And did you have anybody who didn't get on board? And what did you do if that was the case?
Yeah. You'll get people that don't get on board, and then they get themselves off board, or you have to take them off board. In fact, my blog that will be coming out, Dermot, tonight, my Thursday thoughts on leadership, I specifically address that very, very well. And you feel free to because you get it. Feel free to always forward it out to your team if they wanted to be fouled out, forward it out to there. But you look at, it's a core covenant. Fortunately, it's a core covenant. You're either in or you're out. There's no life in between. Okay.
What's the reason? Sorry.
Some of the best leaders I have, there was that little bit in the beginning, but once they understood and got on the team, it was a completely different story.
And what's a reasonable time frame? What do you think is acceptable to get somebody on board?
Well, for me, it was what happened. What helped a lot was COVID hit, and all of a sudden, I needed to be. Zoom became so popular, or Teams is what we use, that I had everybody on every week. So that kind of accelerated. You can't come in there as a brand new person and say, okay, here's what we're going to do. You got to take it like easy, right? Take it easy at first, maybe give them accountability person at first, or maybe you do, no one likes change, and everybody's got their own little reason why they can and why they can't do it. But you can really see the difference between someone that understands the system and is running the system compared to someone that doesn't understand the system and is used to working at a real estate company, a daycare center for adults, with doing whatever they want, not staying focused, not following their schedule, not doing any of the things that Buffini and Company coach them to do, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's no different. I would say it's probably no different than you with your coaching clients, except for me, the good thing I have is they are employees. Okay. But I did that with independent contractors, and you'd have some that would want to do it and some that wouldn't want to do it. But when you can show we went from here to here by being part of the Intero business strategy coaching program, you'll get people to buy in from that. Right.
Yeah. Well, what I love about what you're saying too is, when you work with salespeople, everybody's a good salesperson. And sometimes they're selling you on the reasons why not. I do it. Now, well, here's why I didn't, and my knee was sore and that's why I didn't get to work out, And somebody who's a good coach goes, well, your knee is sore, but that doesn't mean you can't work out your upper body, and vice versa. So, what I love about this is they know what you're going to talk about on a Monday morning. They know that you're going to examine the scorecard. You're going to have a discussion about the activities that support the scorecard. And what I like about that is it eliminates the excuses before you get there. Like, you can build all the story you want. It's not going to be relevant at the start of this meeting.
Right. I like to say the box is small because the story can't fit in the box. You either did it or didn't, right? But it's them doing it. They're saying what they're going to do. I'm not telling them what to do.
Yeah.
They're saying what they're going to do. And if anything, they're accountable to the team, to their team members there. Okay. And the team members will see somebody that's not pulling their weight, and there'll be that peer pressure on that.
Well, Gino, it's great stuff. And, there's one quote, and I'm going to allow you to give it, and I think everybody should write this down, but it's your own personal mission when it comes to helping people.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what that is?
Sure. I'll give you my mission statement is what Dermot's Dermot's referring to. And my mission is this, and it's been this forever. I help people achieve their goals faster than they would in my absence. That's my job. That's what I do. Now, you know, when you're a realtor, you can do it, but then you're a manager, you get a bigger venue. You're a CEO, you get a bigger venue. I was the CEO of the brand for a while. I've had a bigger venue, and now I'm the CEO of the parent company, so I got a bigger venue. So it's just a bigger way to do. And I'm going to look for people that are humble. I'm going to look for people that are hungry and people that are smart. People being smart, when I say smart, not academically straight A student smart, okay? I'm talking about people smart, that they know how to do it. And really, what was the key to building Intero was I had the vision statement for Intero, guided by the principle of trust, respect, and integrity. We empower people to achieve their dreams. And then I had 15 values in there. Every single person, when you start from scratch, you get so much ahead of the game because you're not inheriting a train wreck that you got to try to fix, right? But you had the 15 values there of intent, and then they knew, and everybody that joined sat in to me to tell the Intero story either right before they joined, right before we hired them, or slightly thereafter, and they would know you're either in or you're out, and either way is okay. Okay, it's either if you don't want to grow. If you don't want to grow, my type of an organization is not a good one to be in.
100%.
If they'll leave me alone, I'm fine. I want to stay where I'm at. To me, that's complacency, the most insidious disease in the world. Sits up on your shoulder and says, hey, where you're at is fine. Okay? That's when you stop learning. That's when you stop growing. And that's not at all my philosophy. So if I could take the mission statement, the value pyramid, and then wrap it in a culture of discipline where you have disciplined thought, disciplined people, and disciplined action. Because when you have disciplined thought, you don't need a hierarchy. Disciplined people, you don't need a bureaucracy. Disciplined action, you don't need excessive controls. And then you take that culture of discipline with that ethic of entrepreneurship, and that's where you get the magical alchemy of great performance and sustained results. And if you go back to Intero, back from 2003 when I started it to the time that I was there, we had 12 consecutive years of organic market share growth. Okay. But that was because we were right. I mean, you came out, you saw, you sat with me out there.
I did.
You coached me. We were there together. So in any case.
Well, just, on that note, I have seen this in action. And so we've got people here running teams, whether it's you're talking to a customer, whether you're talking to a team member, I've seen you on a recruit go around and talk about, I want to help you achieve your goals faster than you would by yourself. Who doesn't want to hear that? But the other side of it is you also backed it up with action. So let me tell a little story on Gino here. So as you can tell, quite a busy guy. As you can tell, might slightly have a voracious desire to grow and consume content. And believe me, we'll get those 18 questions and we'll dig in and we'll catch up. But one of the things I asked you was, you were running Intero, you were growing like crazy, you were recruiting, guys were the fastest growing independent real estate company in the country.
Fastest organically grown company in the history of real estate. When I say organic, that means no mergers, no acquisitions. We went from 0 to 1,000 people without a pyramid scheme, without a joint, profit sharing plan, without any, just a regular generic real estate company.
And while all that was going on, and you were keeping up with the madness of trying to keep up with that growth and doing a great job and hiring great people and taking care of your leaders, I got a phone call one day from Gino Blefari. And not only did I get a phone call from Gino Blefari, he was in a room with 25 other realtors. Because Gino, in addition to building a company and leading it and recruiting and building into his own leadership team, was running 100 Days to Greatness classes every week. He put 280 people through 100 Days to Greatness and was our Mentor of the Year award winner, first ever won in 2014. And I said to him, Gino, how the heck do you get time to do this? And he goes, is there anything else that I can be doing other than actually helping my agents achieve their goals? I was like, I'm good. Here's your mission statement. Back up with actions, and it doesn't get lost in the busyness of your day. And that's one of the things where with you, because you've been a realtor, you know what it's like. You know what it's like to run an office. You know what it's like to run a team. And I love the fact that you can apply that, whether it's yourself or 10 people or 100 or now to, I don't even know any agents and offices you're dealing
80,000.
80,000 people, that once you have a system that aligns with your mission and your values, you can have everybody execute on it. And then the other thing is this, because when I talk to you, whether the market is up or whether the market is down, you're the same. You know what you're going to do. For folks, people on this call today, they're working hard and they're grinding hard. What encouragement would you give them at this time?
I would give them, I actually did a little tiny, that Riz Media little talk that they came in. I just tell them like this is our season of change. In fact, let me just see if I can, I'll find it for you right here, because it's pretty cool that you asked that. But and just give me 2 seconds, and I will find something here that I could share with your team right now. This is our season of change, is what I tell them. To get better for our agents, to get better for our office, to get better for our company, to get better for our employees, to get better for our clients, to get better for our communities, to get better for our families. And we need to use this season of change and leverage it, right? And you remember, you're a big fan, Brian's a big fan. I actually got to spend time with Jim Rohn because I was in the business longer than most anyone there. But in that set of the sales speech, he talks about how all of us are on a little sailboat, and it's not the blowing of the wind, Dermot, but the set of the sail that determine where we go, right? The same wind blows on us all, the winds of disaster, favorable winds, unfavorable winds, political winds, social winds, economic winds. It's all the same. Where we arrive doesn't depend on the wind. It depends on our set of our sail. So we can set our sail in the same direction, or we can set it in better direction. It's entirely up to us, right? We can correct the errors of the past and develop new disciplines for the future. Anyone can do this, Dermot. There's no law that says one person can do it and somebody else can't. It's about making that desire to make that change and knowing your heart you must go somewhere new. So you can use that win for or against you. You can use change for or against you. The great ones, though, what Brian or Dermot, what you're thinking of is they don't try to change. They leverage the change to go to the next level. That's what separates them from the competition. Mm-hmm. The great ones force more change upon themselves, more change upon the rest of the organization before the world already pushes it on them, right? And most people wait for the economy, wait for the government, wait for some external force to force that change, and then they react to it. They manage it.
It's great.
Okay,
it's great
the
stuff.
Great ones, Dermot, and what you guys coach to is the great ones change before the industry, before the economy. Here's the deal, Dermot. They can see what's on the horizon. Everybody else sees the same thing, but they just understand it differently. Right? They're willing to spend more time in the fire to deal with it right now, so they're not forced to do it. So here's what I tell them to answer your question. I would say this: we're getting through it. And we can go through it, or we can grow through it. And I hope you're growing through it. I hope you're learning. I hope you've got your head down, that you're sharpening your saw, because when you're getting better at everything you do every single day, because when you get better, the people around you get better. When the people around you get better, your company gets better. And when your company gets better, the Buffini Company will get better. And when the Buffini Company gets better, the real estate industry gets better. So we want the most out of you right now. So that's what I'm telling my team.
That's great. Great.
And that's what I'd be saying, And those are some of the things. I mean, there's all sorts of great philosophies, and I actually, did share them at Riz Media, that there'll always be somebody better is the first one. Discontentment drives inspiration. Find mentors, commit to do the work, struggle is necessary for growth, and this is our season of change. So those are 6 things, but
I love it.
Each one of those, Dermot, would be another session practically, right?
Yes, no doubt. And what I'm hearing you say is set your sail, stay the course, use this time to get better. Well, Gino, I can't thank you enough for joining us today. Hey, would you be okay hanging on for maybe another 20, 30 minutes to talk to our leadership coaching members and answer any questions?
Dermot, for what you've done to me, for me, and what your brother and your whole organization has done for the real estate industry, I'll hang on for as long as you want me to hang on. Okay?
Well, thanks a million, Gino. And the book you've referenced is The 4 Disciplines of Execution.
Yes.
Get a copy of that. There's some good stuff in there. For everyone else, I want to thank you for joining me on The Curious CEO. We'll be back next month with another episode of The Curious CEO, where we'll be joined by mental health and wellness expert, Dr. John Deloney, who's going to help us take care of ourselves so we can take care of others. So until next time, stay curious, my friends.
Thank you for joining us on this month's Curious CEO. If you're ready to take your leadership to the next level, maybe it's time for you to work with a Buffini certified leadership coach. Our coaches will help you identify and leverage your natural leadership style, develop a strong organizational culture, improve recruiting and retention, and increase the profitability of your business. And among the benefits of our leadership coaching membership is a backstage pass to the Curious CEO that allows you to ask your questions directly to Dermot and his amazing guests. If you'd like to see if Buffini leadership coaching is right for you, schedule your complimentary leadership consultation using the URL on your screen.